As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way. Your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" It's a rather strange question coming from Jesus, since it must have been obvious to him that this man was blind, and that one of the things that Jesus has a habit of doing, oftentimes even without somebody formally asking for it, is to heal somebody from their malady, especially from such a serious malady as blindness. And yet Jesus, in this rather suspenseful moment, this rather dramatic moment, asks this man who has been bothering everybody around him so much with his outcries that Jesus would stop and have mercy on him. He even calls him Son of David, as if to suggest that this Messiah, this King of Israel, this one who perhaps bore royal authority and power, would be able to stop and do something for him, do something wonderful for him. Jesus asks him what it is that he wants him to do. And in this moment, we might realistically consider all of the things that this man could have asked for. It could very well be that sight, while it is the most obvious thing, it is the thing that has come to identify him, the thing that he is perhaps even known by, according to his neighbors. The lack of his sight is the obvious thing that he would ask for, or maybe the obvious thing that he was even thinking of in asking Jesus to stop and have mercy on him. We may assume that this was sort of the plan all along. But in point of fact, there's nothing that requires this to have been the request of this blind man on the side of the road. And if you think about it, how often do we find ourselves in a similar position, where exactly the things that beset us, exactly the things that may even seem very small, or even things that we have come to identify ourselves with, whether it's weakness or strength. That these things are not the things that we want to ask Jesus about or talk to Jesus about, but other things that have come to occupy our attention, other things that have come to become very important to us, so much that the things which are truly most important begin to fade into the background. This man very well could have shot for the moon here when Jesus says to him, what do you want me to do for you? If he's going to ask Jesus to help him to see, he might as well go beyond that. He might as well ask to win the Powerball, or he might as well ask to become a ruling figure alongside Jesus when he comes into his kingdom, the way the apostles do. He might as well have asked for revenge on his enemies, perhaps even a simple revenge on these people who were bothering him beforehand and telling him to quiet down. He might have asked for all kinds of things. All kinds of things that perhaps we ourselves in our own weakness would ask Jesus for, and perhaps even often do ask Jesus for in our weak moments. Instead of the things that we actually need, and especially instead of the things that we actually need in order to do what He's calling us to do. It is this, brothers and sisters, that Jesus praises when, after the blind man asks to be able to see, Jesus sees something further even than simply this request. For he sees not only the request to be able to see, but he also sees why it is that this man asks to see. For it is not simply to see, it is not simply to have the freedom to be able to go and do as he wish, whether it might be to go and try and win the Powerball, or to go and become a ruling figure somewhere, to attain power, to have the power of sight in order to do other kinds of things, in order to do His will, in order to go His way. Jesus knows that, in fact, the reason He wishes to see is so that He can do exactly what He ends up doing, which is to follow Jesus on the way. Jesus says to him, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." And immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. Go your way, and he followed him on the way. Brothers and sisters, this is the sort of sight that faith itself already exceeds. This is the sort of sight that faith itself is already the supreme example of. And what we may say truly, faith itself is the object towards which sight itself looks. For if we have the power of vision, if we have the power of sight, to be able to lead ourselves around without stumbling, or apparently without stumbling, and to simply be able to do as we wish, we find ourselves lost. We find ourselves, in fact, blinded by many other things in this world. We find ourselves without the vision to be able to go where it is that the Lord is leading us, to be able to find the place that He is leading us to, which is our heavenly homeland. But rather, if we begin with faith, even if we may lose all of our other powers, even if we may, in fact, be brought in our weakness to death itself, it is still our faith that will save us. Because faith in Jesus means that no matter where we are, whether we are physically able to follow Him or not, we follow Him in our hearts, in grace to salvation. It's in this sense, brothers and sisters, that Blessed John Henry Newman, in a moment of serious trouble for himself, as he was nearing shipwreck and near death because of a disease he was suffering in the Mediterranean, wrote a poem that has since become known famously by its title, "Lead Kindly Light." Lead kindly light, amidst the encircling gloom, lead thou me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Lead thou me on. The one thing I ask, I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step is enough. Today, brothers and sisters, the Lord is also asking us, is also calling to us, through the church, through the apostles, in just the way that He did in the gospel today. The Lord is calling to us and asking us what it is that we desire most from Him. And He asks us this question precisely to hear it from us, what He already knows is in the depths of our hearts. And this question we desire, we want to put to him today. What exactly is it that stands between us and following Jesus more closely on his way? A way that acknowledges, a way that embraces not only his power to do all things, but even more especially his goodness and his wisdom. And even most especially, his goodness and his wisdom in the light of the cross and in the love.